monopolies, their history, and the enforcement. So we're going to talk about Google, snack industry, and even Ronald Reagan. So first thing I'm going to do is define exactly what a monopoly is. A good example would be Mr. Hodges and his market over there. There's not anybody else really selling food in the high school, so he kind of has free reign to raise the prices as he please, except obviously how much people will pay, but that's just it. There's nobody else to compete in that category to offer competitive prices. Another example might be Google and their search engine. Almost any popular browser, Safari, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Google Chrome itself all use Google as a search engine. They have a dominance in that market. An easy way to define it is just a near total market share in a given sector or industry. Now there is an important reason, as many of you who keep up with recent news may have guessed that I mentioned Google. And that's because the DOJ, or the Department of Justice, has recently asked Google to sell or spin off Chrome into its own separate entity. And the reason of this is because to pair a search engine and a browser together is a kind of monopoly scenario, or it can at least lead to a monopoly scenario, because Google as a company, a money-making enterprise, its goal is to have the best, or to offer the best product anyway. So obviously, it's going to prioritize, or at least favor, its web browser over anybody else's, such as maybe offering faster loading times or better integration, so you're more likely to choose Chrome over other companies because it has a near total domination of the search engine industry. So I want to talk a little bit more about Google. I want to focus more on their acquisition timeline, what turned them into a monopoly. There's five at least big ones, namely ones that I want to talk about. The first one being Android for $50 million in 2005. The second, much more important one, being YouTube for only $1.6 billion. I think personally that's absolutely ludicrous for YouTube basically being the sole provider of long-form based content in the world, and especially in America. There's almost no other platform that provides long-form content like YouTube does. The other one being Motorola, because YouTube wanted to get it, Google wanted to get it into making the Google Pixel phones, which was what they've been focusing on. Motorola made phones. They bought them for $12 billion compared to the only $1.6 billion to YouTube. Still crazy. And they bought Fitbit in 2021 for $2.1 billion. And then finally they brought Mandiant, which is a home security company, because another one they bought, it was a private deal, so there's no buyout information, but they bought Nest, which is a home security company. So this was to further fund that industry. Now, if you go to the Wikipedia page, there is a lot of acquisitions on their list. There is so many of them. And those dashed lines in the money category are all private deals, ones that were not publicly disclosed. There's 258 total, and not a single one of those has ever been formally blocked by the DOJ or the STC. And there was only 22 deals that they publicly claimed they wanted to buy, or companies they wanted to merge with, that they discontinued because of monopoly regulation concerns. But never once have they ever been formally blocked. I want to move from Google's specific acquisition history to acquisition culture as a whole. This is a map of the snack and food industry, and there is 10 major players, and all of these 350 subsidiaries all move into one of these 10 industries. And the kind of unfortunate outcome or effect of something like this is when a company has the ability to, instead of competing with another company that, let's say you can't really see, but DiGiorno, the pizza company, for example, if another business wants to sell frozen pizzas, when Nestle has the ability to just buy that company instantly, instead of trying to offer more competitive prices or maybe innovate in the frozen pizza area to compete with that company, there's no competition. They maintain their market share, and their market share grows. And this is more accurately referred to as an oligarchy, which is a monopoly but contained within a few number of powers. But the issue still stands that when a company has the ability to just buy a competitor instead of actually compete with them, they can charge higher prices because they have less competition in that market, and they don't have to focus on innovating in that market because there's no reason for them to innovate. They don't have anyone to innovate past or against. And this isn't just this industry. Even the tech industry has this problem where these companies just aggregate and grow and grow and grow and buy more, so they innovate less. They don't have to focus on trying to compete with other companies in terms of the two biggest being prices and the quality of their product. The question I want to answer is what happened to antitrust enforcement? Because obviously these companies have been growing and building and collecting more and more over many years. So what happened? A good example of a massive antitrust enforcement case is AT&T, or the Bell system. So in the 1970s, AT&T, or the Bell Corp, as it was called then because they had the little Bell logo, they owned 90% of all telephone communication in the United States. They were deemed as a natural monopoly by the federal government because there was insufficient competition. So they weren't even really touched by the federal government. They had such a monopoly, they made, adjusted to inflation today, $120 billion annually and employed over 1 million workers. However, towards the mid of the 1970s, some exclusionary and predatory tactics such as excluding third-party phones with cellular devices and not allowing any other companies to use any of their towers resulted in an antitrust suit by the DOJ in 1974. And the breakup finally occurred in 1982, resulting in the Baby Bell, is actually what it's called. They split up AT&T into a bunch of different companies, these being all the ones listed right here. They're contained within their different areas, and now, today, most of them, as you can see, have been bought back by AT&T. But some of them, such as Verizon, has become a known competitor. People know the name Verizon. This is a staple example of the benefits of antitrust enforcement. They took all of these, essentially just different, these could have existed as their own, but they were all owned by AT&T, and they split it, not perfectly, but it was at least split and it had some effect on AT&T's monopoly as a whole. But what did happen? Why is this no longer happening? Why are monopolies like this still allowed to aggregate and not being split up? This is what I like to call Reagan's Great Deregulation. So during the Reagan era, there was this philosophy adopted called the Consumer Standard, or the Consumer Welfare Standard. It was by an economist named Robert Bork, and it basically claimed that antitrust should only deal with companies that harm consumers by the two metrics of higher prices and worse quality goods. Now, on the surface, this sounds like a good theorem, but one of the biggest loopholes of this logic is companies like Amazon that sell hundreds of thousands of products at relatively low prices. They don't fall into the high price category. Yet Amazon owns almost all of the online product realtor space. They sell everybody knows Amazon. They sell all kinds of goods. They have the ability to own a massive amount of market share, but not trigger any of these two metrics to be a consideration for an antitrust suit. And the outcome of this philosophy resulted in the FTC and the DOJ basically going into hibernation. They couldn't really do the most important thing, which is controlling market dominance. So they effectively have not done anything for roughly 40 years. Now, if you know me or if you've ever talked to me, I'm a massive fan of the FTC. I'm a massive fan of antitrust regulation and monopoly enforcement rules. I'm a massive fan of Lina Khan, the commissioner of the FTC. She was appointed by Biden in the beginning of his campaign. And not many people know of her, but she's done some incredible things, such as in August, she banned fake reviews and testimonials, not allowing companies to essentially sell you a false bill of goods in terms of their website, in terms of what people think of their product. In October, she instituted the one-click cancel, or the click-to-cancel rule, which is my personal favorite. A good example of this is gym subscription services. Some instances occurred where they would only allow you to come in person and cancel, and it had to be on certain days and really short time windows, essentially increasing the likelihood that you would be too lazy to do it and you would continue paying them. This kind of logic has also applied in entertainment industries, basically anything that uses subscription. So this was really important in the antitrust and market dominance and kind of just shady tactics movement against these massive companies. in April 2024, they proposed a ban on all non-competes. If you know what a non-compete is, it basically just states that if you work at this company, you're not allowed to go and work at this company for a set period of time, so you're not allowed to, like get company secrets and instantly pivot to another company. However, recently, they've just been used to kind of trap employees in certain companies. Like, for example, there was a suit on Papa John's, or an individual sued Papa John's because they had a non-compete agreement about you couldn't work at any other like fast food industry for 7 years in like a massive mile radius. So the non-compete was essentially being used to entrap employees in lower paying positions and worse working conditions, because it would be more difficult to find jobs outside of that position. Many other of these include like I can't remember any of them, but some unfortunate news is this very pro-business regulation mindset appointed by Biden is likely no longer going to exist under new administration. Hurts me a little bit because I love all of the work that she's doing, but that's the end. Thank you.